What's up, guys? We're back with the round two of the notes. And in these notes are be about just the key battles of the Civil War. Now, you've probably already filled all these charts out just from looking by doing the assignment that I assigned yesterday. But we're kind of go over them. I want to talk to you about them a little more in depth. Okay, so the first battle we have here is Fort Sumter. Okay, so Fort Sumter happens on April 12th, 1861, in South Carolina, specifically Charleston, South Carolina. So what happens in this war? Basically, the Confederates fire on Fort Sumter because they claim that Fort Sumter is their fort, belongs to them, and they're also angry at President Lincoln for sending supplies to the Union soldiers. And so this battle lasts for about 34 hours and ends up in a Union surrendering to the South. Okay, and so this is the be claimed a South victory. All right, and so why this battle is important is, well, one, it's the first battle of the Civil War. It kind of starts the Civil War. And then number two is this Lincoln is able to use this battle to get men to sign to be troops in the Union Army to help their army grow and give them more men to fight. All right, then we had the first battle of Bull Run, and it's also or the first battle of Manassas. Okay, this happens in Manassas, Virginia, in July 21st, 1861. And so this is the first confrontation really between the opposing armies. And so the Union Army will lose terribly. The South will just destroy. They will just tear them apart. And this is where the strength of the South was their generals, the military leaders, the military experience was able to show it dominated the North. Even though they had more resources, they had more men, they had all the Shazam, but the South was better trained to actually fight. And so the significance of this is one, people thought this war would just kind of be over like that, but really this battle made people think that this war is actually going to go for a while, in which it did. It went for about 5 years, 4 years, and then also Lincoln starts to he says, hey, you know what, General Winfield Scott, you have a great plan, the Anaconda Plan, which we remember that's where the North wanted to choke out the South by taking all their ports and to cut them in half by seizing the Mississippi River. All right, and so this is the battle where Lincoln decides to go for it. Then we have the Battle of Antietam. So this happens in Antietam, Maryland, in September 17th, in 1862. And so General Lee takes this opportunity because while the South was on the rise to basically to just own the North, he took this opportunity to try and invade the North. Because if he can invade the North and stay on the offensive, it's going to look very, very good for the South. It's been really hard for the North to play the defensive. And so he's unsuccessful, and the Union ended up winning this battle. And this ends up actually being the bloodiest single day of the whole war. You have about 22,000 that are killed or wounded. It's not the bloodiest battle, but it is the bloodiest single day of the war is in Antietam. But the big significance from this is that this Union win justifies Lincoln, issuing the Emancipation Proclamation, which we'll talk about a little bit what that really did. But in a nutshell, it kind of helps free the slaves in the rebelling states. Oh, wrong way. All right, that's Antietam. They're all hanging out. That's President Lincoln with the top hat on. He actually wore a top hat, but they're all chilling right there. All right, so Battle of Gettysburg happens in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, from July 1st to July 3rd, 1863. All right, so this the highs from it is that there was a second failed attempt by General Lee and the Confederate States of America to invade the North. So Robert E. Lee tries to invade the North again, tries to get on that offensive, and he fails. This ends up in a 3-day battle that just completely destroys General Lee's forces. And so this really hurts the South. And so the significance of this is it basically becomes the start of the end for the South. Okay, so the South and their offensive move and everything like that really starts to fade, and they really start to kind of get on the defensive, and it's not good for the South. And this kind of put a lid on the South ever having hope of invading the North. And so this war actually is kind of a turning point in the war. It changes the game for the North to kind of be on the offensive and then be on the defensive, and have the South kind of be in retreat. Then we have the Siege of Vicksburg. So while Battle of Gettysburg happens in early July, prior to that, we have a 2-month raid or a 2-month siege by Ulysses S. Grant in Mississippi. So this happens in Vicksburg, Mississippi, which is located on the Mississippi River, and the Union ended up winning this battle. And what this does is this was the Vicksburg was the last obstacle for the Union to overcome to control the Mississippi River. Okay, remember point two, the Anaconda Plan? That's what this was doing right here. Okay, and so this victory gave Union control of the Mississippi, and so that no ports or anything like that can be opened along the Mississippi River, and it splits the South in half. Okay, that's a big deal. Okay, because there can be then nobody could get across the Mississippi River, which was a very big river, and so this would put the South in a lot of trouble. Then we have the Battle of Atlanta. So this happens in Atlanta, Georgia, and in September 22nd, 1864. And this is a part of General William T. Sherman's summer campaign in the Union and winning it. And this would allow the North to capture one of the probably the most vital Confederate supply places in the South. All right. And so this has all the railroad junctions. This is a big supply center. It's where all the goods can be sent out from. And so capturing Atlanta was a really, really big deal. And so when they captured Atlanta, they can cut off a lot of supplies internally for the South. So they had all the ports now pretty much, and not all the ports. They had most of the ports, and they had Atlanta. So they're basically just choking out the South. And so the Battle of Atlanta would then actually also lead to Sherman's march to sea. So General Sherman would march from Atlanta, Georgia, all the way down to Savannah, Georgia, and then up through Columbia, South Carolina, then all the way up to North Carolina. It would basically burn everything in his path. And so it wasn't really a battle, but it was a lot of destruction. And so we won't count it as a north wind. And this would go from November 15th to December 21st in 1864. And basically, it was a 300-mile long path just of total destruction. They'd light fire to everything. The only thing they wouldn't light fire to was churches. But basically, they burned Atlanta. They spared Savannah because Sherman really liked Savannah for some reason. And then they also burned down Columbia. And this was the first kind of total war concept presented in the Civil War, where it took the fight to the civilians. He wasn't just fighting the soldiers now, but he was making it personal with the civilians and kind of demoralizing them by burning everything they owned. I mean, let's be real. If everything you own is being burned down, that's pretty humiliating. You don't want that to happen. Okay. It's like someone takes your lunch money and then, then decides to kick you in the shin as well, and then tell you look stupid or something like that, adding insult to injury type deal. Anyways, Sherman's march to sea. We look at a picture of it. He goes from Atlanta all the way down to Columbia, then up to Bentonville, North Carolina, and he just rakes everywhere. It's just terrible. Just rakes it all to pieces, burns it all down, just tears it all up. It's terrible. General William T. Sherman, okay, he's the leader of the Union. You see a little picture of him there. We have the Sherman's March to Sea, blah, blah. There's another picture of it. There's Charleston, South Carolina. You see all the church steeples, okay, because he would not burn churches. Okay, Harper's Weekly is Columbia, South Carolina. Same thing. You see the church, okay. See some church steeples still up there, okay. All right, this is the last important battle of the Civil War, Appomattox Courthouse, okay. So this happens in the state of Virginia in April 9th of 1865. And so this is the kind of the final battle pretty much. There actually are a few more battles happening after this one, but it's essentially the nail in the coffin. And so this ends up in the Union win. And, what happens here is Lee's army gets very overwhelmed and they get surrounded by Grant's Union forces. And so, Lee decides to surrender to General Grant that would effectively end the war. Okay, so that's a little painting of General Lee signing the surrenderance and stuff like that. And Ulysses S. Grant seeing, across from him saying, hey, I appreciate you signing that. It's a good fight, but we totally just smacked you, blah, 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 all that good stuff. And so Appomattox Courthouse would actually end the Civil War. So that was the final battles. Those are just the key battles. There were a lot more wars and a lot more battles that would have happened here in the Civil War. But these are just kind of key ones to kind of pick out and look at. So if you didn't get all this stuff in the charts, please go back and look and pause and look through these slides to get the information you need about each war. Okay. And when I get back in class, I'm actually going to do a little something with us where we're going to use our hands to kind of help us remember these wars and their significance and stuff like that. It'd be really cool. But someone please remind me when I get back into class next week. But yeah, so I will go ahead and stop right here, and then I'll have another video for the rest of this unit. So what up?